Hello, my name is Derek Temple, and this is going to be a screencast on how to use MongoDB. Now, if you were here for the first screencast I made about MongoDB, then you will know that we installed it using Homebrew. So, first thing we want to do is run brew doctor, just to make sure that there have been no updates to Homebrew. And apparently there haven't. It says your system is ready to brew. So we move on to the next step. Now, this document here will tell us what we need to do. So first thing we need to do is go into the directory where we have our Mongo at. So this is the location over here for our MongoDB using Homebrew. All Homebrew applications will go by default into this location. User local seller. And then of course the application name is MongoDB, and this is the version number. So this is the path to our MongoDB, so we just do a cd to it and we're in the right directory. So from there we're going to say we need to make a DB directory. So we're going to say cd bin, and then we're going to run makedir on db. Now I've already made a database folder, which is why this shows up as file exists. But if you haven't already made a database folder, then it should make a new folder for you. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cd back out of that folder into the version folder, and we're going to run the command to start up our Mongo server. So we do /mongod, and then we do a db path option and tell it we want bin/db. And that will start up our server, and there we go. So now we're going to open up a new Finder window, and this new window is going to need to be in the same place. So we're going to go ahead and go to same folder, but we're going to go into the bin folder this time. So tack that onto the end of it. So now that we're in the bin folder, we're going to move to the next part. Now, as long as your MongoDB server is running, it should say waiting for connections on port 27017. So let's go back to the other window. If that is how it is, we're going to move on to the next step. Mongo. Instead of adding the D on when we did to do the server, we're just going to run the Mongo command. We don't want to start the server, we want to start the Mongo console. So let's go ahead and start it up. You should see this MongoDB shell version and connecting to test, and then you should see this little greater than sign at the beginning of the line. Now every time you start a new line, you're just going to see that at the beginning of the line. That means that you're inside the Mongo console. So now that we're inside the Mongo console, we have a few things that we can do to see what kinds of databases and files and such we have. So we're going to say show DBS. This is to show us what our databases are. Right now we only have one database. So let's go ahead and create a database. We're going to say use, and we're going to go ahead and name this iTunes. And now it should say that you have switched to database iTunes. So this is how you connect to a database and create a database in Mongo. Now we can also do, now that we're connected to the iTunes database, we can say show collections. And currently there are no collections. So let's do db.itunes.count, and you'll see that we get a 0. There are no records. But now if we run the show collections, we still get nothing. So let's do let's create an object. So if we create an object, we're going to give it a type of person, and we're going to give them name Rick. So let's run that, and then if we type in Rick, it's going to give us that data back. So we're going to go ahead and create a new record in the database by saving that variable. So we're going to save Rick. db.itunes, and then the command that you want to run, which in this case is .save. So we run that, and now we can do show collections, and it'll show iTunes and system.indexes. Now system.indexes is the index file tells what keys are currently indexed, and then also iTunes, which is the collection that we are currently storing stuff in. So we have an iTunes database, and then inside the iTunes database is an iTunes collection. And that's where the data on Rick is currently stored. So if we do db.itunes.save, or not save, we want to do find. This is going to give us all the data back that we saw, or that we stored in the database. And you can see it gives it an ID, underscore ID, which is set to object ID, and then it gives us this long number. This is because we didn't set the underscore ID, and every object has to have an underscore ID in MongoDB. This is your primary key. So for this object, the primary key was auto-generated because we didn't explicitly give it one, which is fine. So this ID as a primary key is required to be unique. Now, there's a few other things that we can do, and let's tack this on. If we do a .pretty after the .find, it will give us the data one line at a time. So you can see the curly braces are here, which means this is an object, first object, and it's going to give us each piece of data one line at a time. So you can see we have the underscore ID and the type and the name. And we can also do a find based on specific data. So we can put in here, we want to find all records where the type is person, and it'll give us that data. Or we can do all records where name equals Rick, and it'll give us the data on him. Now, if we were to add a new record in here, db.itunes.save, and instead of making a variable first and then passing the variable in, we're just going to put an object directly in here. We're going to say type person, and we're going to give it a name, and we'll just use my name. My name is Derek. So we're going to put that in there and enter. So now let's run db find person, and let's tack on a .pretty at the end. And there you go. The underscore ID, type, and name for Rick, and then in the second object we have the underscore ID and the type and the name, and you can see this one says Derek. Both are type person. So it pulls out everybody that's in there with the type of person, So since both of these have type person, it returns both of them. Or if we just did a generic find, it'll find all the records, period. Which currently, there's only 2 records. So again, it's only going to return the 2 of us. So let's try something a little different here. What if we were to change this, and we'll use my wife's name. Oh, what did I do? Okay, so we're going to name it Honesty. That's my wife. And we're going to give her type wife. And we'll go ahead and save her. So now if we run find pretty, it's going to give us all 3 items, right? But what if we want to do a search on persons? Well, it only gives us Rick and Derek. That's because Honesty's type is wife, not person. And if we're searching directly for a person, we're only going to get people who match person. Well, we're only going to get records with the type of person. So that's just a basic tutorial on how to use MongoDB. And now to show you how to get out, you just do Control-C and you're out. And you can hit exit. And on this one, you can also do Control-C and you're done.